Welcome to Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery, a conversation held at the intersection of substance abuse, mental health, and everyday living. Your hosts, Marc and Justin Wolf, bring both professional expertise and personal understanding to the table. So welcome to the conversation. Let's dive in.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery. I'm your host, Justin Wolf, as always, joined by my co-host, Marc Regala. Marc, how are we doing on this lovely winter evening here?
What's going on, Justin? How are you doing?
Doing all right. I mean, as you know, cold weather, it's led to me kind of increasing my lemon head intake, unfortunately. So, I mean, at this point, I'm down to about, dig down, I find one. God.
Oh my gosh.
It's a sad day.
Yeah, it's for those of you that are watching, it's January 30th. We are in the dog days of winter here in Chicago. Sub-zero, wind chill, single-digit temperatures, sometimes below zero temperatures, snowy. It's just that time of the year. A lot of people are feeling it too.
Yeah, I know you are, Marc. I mean, rocking that medium-sized T-shirt outside, walking to the gym, man. We all see you.
Extra large, man. Extra large hoodie.
You. Oh, that's right.
Extra large hoodie. Oh, it hasn't been easy getting. I mean, I'm telling you, man. I mean, it's 90% of the battle is getting to the gym in this weather. Once you get there and you start working, you feel okay. But I'll tell you what, it's hard to get out of bed on those cold mornings, man.
100%. There's a lot more reasons why to stay in that bed and not get out, right? Than it is to kind of get out and kind of push yourself when it's still dark outside and trying to find a way to kind of get there when you know, hey, this is my best interest. I'm looking out for myself, right?
These are the mornings I hear Mike Tyson's voice running through my head.
Oh, it's be a lovely serenade going on up there.
Discipline. Doing the things that you, this is the thing, doing the things that you don't necessarily want to do, but you want to do them like you love them.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's where, I mean, that's kind of like leads us into talk about what we're talking about tonight, right? Where we're talking about self-respect. And I think that's the most challenging thing is that we're talking about this while we're not always feeling it. And I think that's really one of the biggest struggles that we go through is really, hey, I might not be happy. I might not feel confident, but how do I still carry and live and embody that self-respect for myself? And I think that is a big challenge when our mind is super critical, judgmental, or our past is kind of playing this highlight reel of our mistakes of things that we've done that don't really have us showing up in our finest hour that might make us feel like we're not deserving of it, or I deserve to be punished or ridiculed because of things that I've done in my past. And I know, Marc, when we're talking about like self-respect here, you've got an incredible acronym that kind of embodies not just self-respect, but a lot more facets and areas to incorporate here that will help somebody carry themselves in a really, uplifting way during this difficult time of the year here. So if you want to go ahead and share that, I think it'd be awesome.
I mean, full transparency. This was actually sent to me probably in my first year of recovery by an individual that I respect very much. And every now and then I look at it because it is an acronym. But I mean, everything about the acronym is showing self-respect for yourself. So when you start talking about the acronym, the S is set goals. E, surprise, exercise.
For you,
love. Well, yeah. F is fitness, but we're talking about mental, spiritual, and physical fitness. The R is rest. E is eating clean, eating healthy. S is smiling. P is positive. Always be positive. Glass half full versus half empty. E, enjoy. Enjoy life. Enjoy the sunsets. Enjoy the sunrises. Enjoy the cold weather. C, care about your fellow brothers and sisters. And T, tell your story and inspire others. And when I saw this early on in recovery, when this gentleman sent this to me, I actually thought it was beautiful, and I saved it. And when we're talking about topics, I thought that this might be a good topic tonight because it's nothing that we really talked about before.
No, absolutely, because I think you're really kind of like highlighting, hey, here's some guidelines that you can use to kind of direct your next choice that's going to help you kind of move forward here, right?
Yep.
And I think self-respect, when we're talking about it, the acronym kind of captures that as well. it's not about like how well you're doing. It's about how you treat yourself when you're not.
Correct.
And I think that is the part that just speaks volumes and really shows how are we showing up here. And I know like that setting goals piece, right? Because I know like that can shift, especially when you're kind of caught up in the thralls of everything. It's like, hey, my goal is just to get through the day.
I mean, I think we just did this. We talked about this actually.
Your memory's better than mine.
Within the last month, right? And we talked about SMART goals.
Yeah.
Something that's realistic and something that's attainable. And the thing about it is it needs to be realistic. It needs to be attainable. Maybe have some short, maybe have some mid, maybe have some long-term goals. But again, the thing is realistic and attainable because again, it's about you feeling good about yourself, you getting that brain chemistry elevated, you feeling comfortable with the person in the mirror. And I think that's so important. You just feel better when you've attained something that you've written down.
Exactly. No, and I think that's the part where it's kind of like, hey, you're talking about these goals too in the process, recognizing, hey, these goals aren't linear. As much as we want to kind of believe that we're going to kind of go A, B, C, D, a lot of times we fall down, right? And those are great learning experiences. I was just talking with somebody earlier today, right? Where they're like, hey, life's not going the way I would hope it would go. Like, I'm really caught up in this struggle. And it's like, hey, look, you're getting a lot of good feedback from these experiences that you're having. That's really great information that's letting you know what it is that's really important to you. And that this is also really important to you, which is even more critical. It's like, hey, when things start to get messy or challenging, it's vital that we don't abandon ourselves during this time.
100%. I mean, you're 100% spot on there.
Yeah, one more time, Mark. No, I'm just
but it's easy to forget that, and I'm glad you drove home that point.
Right. No, because I think it isn't always smooth sailing, and it's really the challenges. Like when things get hard, what happens to that voice in my head at that time?
Yeah, I mean, Justin, you and I talk, and I don't want to elaborate too much about this, but we've talked about this several times over the last couple of weeks. I mean, the month of January, there's been more things that have happened in the month of January 2026 than probably all of 2025 combined in my life right now. I mean, it's been a challenging month,
right?
But the thing is, I still answer the bell every day. I'm still hitting the gym every day. The diet's been on point. I've been going to meetings for myself. I've been helping out with meetings. I've been being there for individuals that are going through a hard time right now. It's really unwavering at this point, and it's keeping me steady, and it's keeping me focused, and it's keeping me recovery driven.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, I mean, there's been several days with everything that's gone on where I've kind of lost a little motivation. And I had a hard time getting out of bed and hitting the gym, which is very unlike me because I really do enjoy that time.
Yeah.
But I got there and I got to work and you just feel so much better when you leave there, which, obviously is the next one, which is exercise. I'm a big proponent. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse here. We've talked about it times on the podcast, but exercise, again, just getting the body moving. We're not necessarily talking about lifting weights. Is going to help you. It is showing self-respect. You're treating your body physically and mentally by exercising as a temple. You're respecting it, and it's just going to help with your overall mood because of the endorphin effect. Endorphin effect. It helps with your serotonin. It helps with your dopamine, and it helps with your oxytocin. Four major feel-good chemicals in your brain.
Absolutely no, and I think as much of a hard time I give you, like you and I kind of talk a lot about this, and I'm like, hey man, like I shared with you and a lot of other people that I kind of talk with too. It's like, hey, like that was the one central grounding place in terms of like the gym that I could always kind of turn to where I'm like, hey, this feels comfortable. I can actually start repairing and rebuilding myself, and also give you a sense of like accomplishment when you're like, hey, I've done something, right? I've got myself up. I got myself moving. It's the exact opposite of kind of feeding into like the depression or the anxiety that's going to want to kind of keep you stuck there. And it's helping kind of rebuild yourself, right? Because a lot of times we can kind of carry the thought or the idea. It's like, I'm so far behind everybody else, or I'm feeling broken. I'm feeling defeated. Hey, I physically got my butt up and I went there and look at what I was able to do, even on the days that I didn't want to show up.
It's a win to start the day, and that's really good for the psyche.
Absolutely. It's like, hey, let's start laying that shame and that self-criticism to bed and start focusing on, look at what I was able to do today. Like,
Yep.
instead of like focusing on what's not enough, or that highlight reel in our head of like, I'll be good when, hey, right now I'm good because I'm showing up and I'm committed to repairing and rebuilding myself here, right? And I think that's a thing when we talk about like that self-care and treating ourselves with, with value and with worth. There we go. It can be a great way to kind of feed ourselves instead of falling into some of those traps that we might have found ourselves in before, where it's like, hey, I'm going to just people please. What do they want to hear? What do they want to see me do for them? Or feeling like I have to over explain why I'm doing everything for myself and why I feel this or that. It's like, no, like I just need to do this because this is really an important part of my program and what works for me here. And if I want to stay in a good headspace, this has got to be present for me.
Absolutely. And as much as you give me a hard time, and for the audience, as much as he gives me a hard time, he's in there at 5 o'clock every morning as well. So,
yeah, because it's always one of those things like, hey, there's always the cost of doing it versus the cost of not doing it. And I know the cost when it doesn't show up, where my mind goes and how I feel physically. And it's just like, that is not worth it.
cost of not doing it's a lot more than the cost of doing it. I can tell you that right now, long term.
Absolutely. So what are we looking at next?
Next one on the acronym is L for love. But we're not talking about, loving your partner, or loving your spouse, or loving your children, or what have you.
I like how you get your head going.
About loving the person in the mirror. Okay, you have to love yourself, and how you love yourself is how you treat yourself, and how you treat yourself, okay, is with self-respect and some of these steps that we're talking about here. You have to love yourself before you can love others and be loved and all that good stuff. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I know I struggled with that for a long time. I had a hard time looking at the person in the mirror. I had a lot of disgust looking at the person in the mirror. I couldn't even say I liked the person in the mirror, much less loved the person in the mirror.
Right.
Okay, but now I have grown to the point where I do feel comfortable. I'm happy with where I'm at, but I'm not satisfied with where I'm at. And I just feel better about myself. By feeling better about myself, I feel that I can convey love to others in a much more healthier way than maybe in the past, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. You can be open. You can be present. You can be open to that connection, which is big. And I think that's the part, right? Where it's like, hey, it's like, I don't feel like I have to earn anything in order for me to love myself here. And I think that goes such a long way where it's like, what does that look like? Because a lot of times, hey, this can be quiet, right? And it might be invisible to the eye in terms of like that self-love and because a lot of people might not see that. And a lot of times, like, it might be harder for those around us to see it if we start embodying that and carrying that with us, because what it can start looking like is even internally, right? We might start setting some healthy boundaries for ourselves because it's like, hey, if things got to change, everything's got to change here. So the way I'm relating with myself is going to look different. The way I'm relating and giving access of myself to others is going to look different. And that's all done with the intention of, I'm looking out for what's in my best interest here so that I can make sure I keep moving this forward here.
100%. Well, that's some great points there. And then the F is fitness. But again, we talked about exercise. We're not just talking about physical. I'm talking about mental fitness, physical fitness, and spiritual fitness. And, we've talked about this so many times, but I like this podcast because we're kind of like recapping some of the things we've talked about over the last 2 years, all in one podcast. So I actually like this format. But again, the one area it is 100% okay to be selfish in is when it comes to your fitness, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your mental, physical, and spiritual fitness, because you have to be grounded. You have to make strides in those areas. And by making strides in those areas, you're going to become the best version of yourself. And you owe that to the people. One, you owe it to the person in the mirror the most.
Yeah.
And two, for you to be the best spouse, best partner, best employee, best parent, you owe it to those people as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's huge, Mark. The fact that you're kind of like, hey, I owe it to them and I owe it to myself here. And it's okay. It doesn't mean I'm letting other people down. By me attending to this, I'm actually showing up for those people in my life that matter. And I'm showing up here for myself. And so, hey, I still can feel guilty about that. And over time, because this is a new behavior and this is going to be something that's different, I'm going to embody that and understand that, hey, this is actually a sign of like respect for myself. And I need to respect myself in order for me to be able to respect other people in this process as well here.
Exactly. R is an area that I've gotten a lot better in, but certainly there probably is room for improvement, and that's rest. We talk about living a balanced life, work-life balance,
Yeah.
The proper amount of rest in the evening time, having wind-down routines, getting the proper amount of sleep. Again, much better than what it was years ago, but still room for improvement for me. But I'm going to focus on the positive and focus on the momentum game because I sleep a lot better and I fall asleep a lot quicker than 5 years, well, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and so forth.
No, I hear you. That's a big thing. Like that rest and kind of being like, hey, did I deserve this today? Did I earn the ability to take a rest?
Yeah.
And I think, again, it's kind of learning to kind of say, hey, I don't have to earn this in order to be able to do it, right? And I know, like for myself too, and for a lot of other people that I've talked with, it can be hard to kind of just like sit there and not feel like you are doing something or accomplishing something in that moment. Because I know for me, a lot of like what I will kind of like tie my value into is like, what was I able to contribute? What was I able to offer? What did I do? And if I don't feel like I'm doing something, then like, what's my utility, right? So like, I know I kind of like fall into that trap too of feeling like I have to be go, go, go. And I know my wife gets on me about it, and she's always the much more accurate one of the two of us, where she's like, you don't need to run spot to spot to spot to spot. Like you can give yourself a break.
Yeah, and I mean, rest, obviously sleep, but I mean also just a little downtime too.
Yeah.
And that is one area that I significantly improved on. I mean, I will say that sleeping, I've never really been a big sleeper. I'm sleeping more probably than I've ever before. But the one thing that I have gotten a lot better at is just downtime, having an evening or two, or just chilling on a Saturday night, watching a movie or watching a ball game or something like that. Just time for myself,
Yeah.
It's something that I really, I mean, I was married, I had 4 kids, I was going to baseball tournaments, softball tournaments, all that stuff. Always, like you said, always on the run, always on the
Yeah.
go, trying to squeeze things in. So
Absolutely.
I've
You
gotten
just need
better.
to add more hours in the day, man.
Yeah, I know that feeling really well. So, and then the first E in respect topic that I enjoy, eating.
Eating.
Okay. But like we've talked about before, putting the right foods in your body, eating your foods as medicine, not necessarily as pleasure, putting the right proteins in. Okay. Justin's wincing over there as he is lemon heads. Okay. Trying to put food in that's driving the brain chemistry, driving your mood. Again, the same food you got to put in your body to drive your brain chemistry, the same food you got to put in your body to build your body physically. So if you incorporate some exercise and so forth, you're going to see your body morph a little bit. But I think diet is really, really, really important. And I know it's important to you
Yeah.
too, because I know you meal prep and I see you eating your chicken breast and your protein bars in the office and all that good stuff as well. Even though
Don't force me like this, Mark.
you do like your candy.
It's my one vice, right? Now, if you catch my head in like a bag of like 5-pound gummy bears, then we might have to have an intervention. But until that day, I'll be good, man.
Well, how big was that bag of lemon heads that you just smashed?
Oh, that thing's tiny. That's only like, what does it say here? It is, it's only 12 ounces.
Okay, what about those Starburst jelly beans? You eat that whole bag in one sitting?
Don't you go there, man. Don't What you worry about? What you worry about in the Starburst jelly beans?
Okay.
Yeah.
The S, changing the subject. The S in respect. What we're doing a lot of right now, smiling.
Look at
Okay.
Mark smile. You should see Mark's morning photos, bright and chipper.
No, I don't smile too much in the gym. So torture my body. But no, I smile. I don't smile enough, I can tell you that right now. But just enjoy the ride, which, as we're gonna get to that here in a second.
I think that's the part where it's like a lot of times people might feel like they got to block those emotions out, right? Or we might have gotten so disconnected from it, or we might have been through so much that we get really attached to a lot of those unpleasant feelings and thoughts, and we don't allow ourselves to experience happiness, contentment, joy. And it doesn't mean that I'm choosing to feel this way. No, it just feels like with the way life has been going for me, it can be really hard to embrace and make the space for those emotions to be present here.
Yeah.
And I think, sometimes like that idea of like being perfect in the process and recognize when we're talking about like this self-respect, it's just kind of recognize like, hey, some days like it might go better than others, like attending to these items. And there might be some days where it's a challenge too. And it doesn't mean that we've lost everything because we didn't show up the right way, right? I think that's
right.
an important thing to kind of just keep in mind here as we're kind of going through all these marks.
Yeah. No, I agree. Sometimes you just got to just laugh things off too. You can't take stuff too serious.
Right.
I mean, we'll use this month as an example. It's like we wake up in the morning, or I get into the office, and be like, okay, let's see what can happen today with the big smile on my face, right? I mean, it is what it is. You got to embrace it and you got to roll with the punches sometimes.
Yeah, it's like what you got control over, right?
Control the controllables. Absolutely. The P in self-respect. Positive energy, positive affirmations, glass half full, glass half empty. Again, things we've talked about a lot on these podcasts in the past, but I like this format because we're kind of hitting on all these things almost like a recap, if you will. I mean, you have to shift the narrative in your brain. I call them brain set resets, and look at the learning experiences, the positive experiences, even in a potential challenging situation. And if you can do that, okay, you're going to perceive things differently. It's going to help you with your mindset. It's actually going to help. It's actually going to help you with your brain chemistry, as opposed to kind of being a Debbie Downer and woe is me, and ending the day on negative thoughts and so forth. And all of a sudden, you wake up the next morning and your mood is down because your chemistry digressed or went down, over the course of the night. So. The second E in respect is enjoy. And it's just enjoying little things in life. And I mean, I'll give you a perfect example of this. You're talking to a dude, and it's pretty well documented that, I had a quite an experience with addiction and alcoholism. And I mean, there was a period there for several years where if I didn't have pills or drugs in my system, I was waking up every morning sick, growing up. So, I mean, I look at it and I tell my friends this all the time. When I go to the gym at 4:30 in the morning, I may almost view it as a privilege.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm waking up not sick. I'm able to get up and walk to my car and drive to the gym. And, if it's summertime out, the sun is starting to rise and you appreciate, the sunrise, or if it's later in the evening, the sunset. Just when something's taken away from you, for a period of time, and then you get that back, you just appreciate things a hell of a lot better on the other side, a hell of a lot more on the other side. And I just think that if we can just try to just enjoy the little things in life and slow things down a little bit, I think everybody would be in a better place mentally, and the world would be in a better place, quite frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like just showing that overall appreciation as a whole there. And sometimes those things that we have in our lives that we just take for granted, like, because they're there, right? It just because they're there on such a regular and consistent basis. And sometimes like we do that with the people in our lives too. Kind of slowing it down to kind of just like take that inventory, take a moment, reflect upon it, and just kind of acknowledge these things.
Justin, you bring up a good point. I'm at the age right now where, talking to a number of my friends from high school, we're dealing with aging parents, we're dealing with the stresses of that and so forth. And I fielded a lot of phone calls over the last few months of people dealing with, sick parents and they're caring for their parents or their parents in a nursing home or whatever it might be. And, you can just hear the stress in their voice and the concern and, just they're in a bad spot. And I try to shift the narrative. I'm like, listen, the fact that we're dealing with this means we still have our parents. Okay. I mean, it's a privilege to be dealing with this because we still have our parents, because we know friends that have lost their parents 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and don't have this opportunity to be there for their parents. So again, it's just reframing of the mind. And when I've had these conversations with some of my friends, they're like, you know what, Mark, you're 100% correct. I never really looked at it from that perspective, but you are spot on in that regard. I got to change the way I look at things and just kind of slow down my thoughts.
No, it's true, man. It's true. That's the challenge, right?
It's the same thing, like I said, with going to the gym. It's a privilege to go to the gym and not feel sick. I mean, just little things, but just reframing. But it helps with the psyche. It helps with the chemistry.
I mean, you take the whole picture into account here.
Absolutely.
Not just the part that's going to feed that negative feeling, right?
Yep. And then the C in respect is care. And when we're talking about care, obviously caring for yourself, but caring for your fellow brothers and sisters as well. Be there for your friends.
Absolutely.
But obviously showing care for yourself and your health and your mental and your physical and your spiritual health as well.
And then showing up. That is showing up for yourself and being there. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, hey, I can't be passive in my life here. I need to be present. I need to be engaged, and I need to show that.
Absolutely. And then the T in respect is tell. Tell your story. Share your story. Because you don't know the person that you're talking to, what they've been through, and it might just inspire them. It might show some hope. It might inspire them to make some changes in one or a couple different areas in their life, and just try to make people better around you and try to make the world a better place. And a lot of times you can do that by sharing your personal story and your personal journey.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, helps people understand, like, it's not just a me thing, right? It's like, hey,
Absolutely
me too. No, so there's so much power in that. And I think that's where, I know you've kind of been a walking, living example of that and what you've been able to do and what you've been able to kind of share and the impact that's had on other people and feedback you've gotten, man. And so,
well, you also got to understand, Justin, it was somebody that shared their story with me that provided hope and inspiration when I was down and out. So, I understand the power of storytelling.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It could change somebody's life in a matter of a half hour, 45 minutes having a conversation with them, because it did so for me. So I respect that a lot. So, yeah, I thought it was a good recap. I thought it was good to talk about that acronym, talk about self-respect in general. Hopefully the audience liked it, and as I said, I know it's kind of the dog days of winter, so we just have to stay focused out there right now. And that's why I thought this would be a good recap for this podcast.
Exactly. No, absolutely. And I love the fact that you kind of brought this acronym and kind of shared that with everybody, because I think it really, we talk about like self-respect here, your acronym and, self-respect in general here. And I think it's just really important to kind of keep in mind here that, we talk about self-respect. This is something you can return to. It's not something you master. And I think that's important to remember.
Yeah.
And if you're still fighting, you're still picking yourself up, you're still showing up, you're tuning in tonight, like that in of itself shows that you're trying. And that already counts as self-respect as we're going through this. And so I think that's the part of this, is like giving ourselves permission to kind of like show up, to take up the space for ourselves that we need. And that I can show myself that love that I deserve for just solely being a person. So.
Absolutely. Good podcast, Justin. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the validation. Thank you.
Go buy some more lemon heads now on your way home.
You're gonna see me tomorrow, man. Geeked out on them.
Oh no, I forgot. Hey, for the audience, Justin's got a 10:30 soccer game tonight, so we're recording this, pretty late in the evening. But he's going to the soccer, so he's definitely going to be stopping to get more lemon heads. He's got to get
You have no
that
idea.
sugar high.
Mind doesn't respond like it used to. My mind is like me at like 25. My body's like, you're a little bit older than that, pal. So, yeah, good times. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. No, I appreciate everybody else tuning in to these podcasts. So, you like that? No. So these podcasts air on 15th and 30th of each month. So feel free to tune in. Mark and I each month going to have different topics, guests on our show here. So if there's topics that you'd like to hear us dive into, feel free to share that with us. We're more than happy to kind of take some time aside to kind of make sure we cover that as well. So as always, appreciate you taking the time to kind of tune in tonight to really hear the important acronyms of self-respect here and how this can be used, especially during these challenging times that come during the winter months when it's just gray, dark, and cold. So until next time, we will catch everybody on our next episode. Thank you all for tuning in. To everybody, wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are.
Thanks for joining us today on Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery. If you're on the journey to find guidance and insights, subscribe now wherever you find your podcasts. Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery is an educational resource, not a substitute for medical or therapeutic advice. The opinions expressed by the hosts and their guests are not necessarily those of NAMI DuPage. Go to namidupage.org/podcast for links to past episodes, show notes, and to submit a question or topic ideas for a future episode. Until next time, be well.